called The Morning Punchin' Show with RB and Jae. They call me Raging Babe.
Yeah, and what is it on?
It's online. It's a podcast.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm really good friends with Russell Pelt. I know he adores you.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all veterans. Yeah.
Yeah. I worked on the Heart of the City card with Jesse Hart, his last fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a nice boy.
Oh yeah, he is.
I like him.
We
His father was a hell of a fighter.
Oh yeah. He really was. He's a Philly legend. Boxing in Philly's a religion.
I know.
You know.
I did a lot of fights there with Russ.
Yeah, good old Russ. He's still kicking.
Yeah.
So we want to do something a little different here with you because we know everyone's asking you probably the same stuff. Right. So we want to talk a little bit about politics.
I want to talk politics.
Yeah, you do?
Good, you have a primary coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me talk about politics.
That's exactly what we want to talk about. So it's kind of funny because you named the undercard No Trump card. And I know Donald, he tried to get into boxing for a while, and I think he walked away from a deal with Kathy Duva one time. Was it Holyfield?
No, it was Kathy Duva and me.
Oh.
I was Foreman's promoter, and Dan Duva, Kathy's husband, the late Dan Duva, was Holyfield's promoter. Well, we'll go through the story how
do it. I want to hear it.
How Trump swindled us out of $2.5 million.
Like 8 days before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to hear the story.
Well, I don't want to repeat it twice.
What do you mean? We're on live.
Oh, we're on live.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
This is conversational.
Oh, okay.
We like to have fun.
All right, good. All right, here's what happened. I was the promoter for George Foreman. The heavyweight champion was Evander Holyfield, and Main Events, the Duvas, promoted Holyfield. Mm-hmm. So the question was where we would do the fight. Either Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas or Atlantic City with Donald Trump. And Dan and I both agreed that it would go to the highest bidder. Mm-hmm. Caesar's Palace bid $11 million to do the fight. Donald Trump bid $11.5 million. So I told Dan at the time, I don't trust Trump. Let's go with Caesar's Palace. He said, no. He bid more. He gets the fight. So we signed a contract, and about 2 weeks after we signed, the Gulf War broke out. The first Gulf War, the bombing and so forth. Yeah, it was Saddam Hussein. And nothing to do with anything, right? About 6 to 8 weeks later, 8 days before the Foreman Holyfield fight is to take place, Dan and I, this is before the internet, each get a fax that says contract is terminated, act of war. So I thought it was a joke. So I call a press conference and I say, it's not an act of war unless Saddam Hussein lands his troops on the beaches of Atlantic City. Big joke, right?
Yeah.
But Trump is serious. We have a meeting in his office, and Kathy relayed about the meeting in the article with Aioli. And he said, no, I'm out of the contract. If you sue, it's over. It's 8 days to go. Where are we going to get a place for the fight? We knew it was the first big pay-per-view fight, and we knew we would do tremendous on pay-per-view. Indeed, we did over 10%, which is unbelievable, in buys for that fight. So we made a deal with him. We could keep the gate. He gave us $1 million, paid for the rooms, paid for the arena. And after the fight, when we totaled it up, the difference was $11.5 million. And what we ended up getting was $2.5 million. So he screwed us out of $2.5 million. Bad guy.
Yeah.
Bad guy.
So when you heard he was running for president, you must have just...
I couldn't believe it. I mean, let me tell you something. The people in this country have to have their heads examined to even think about him as president. But you know why he's done so well? You know why he's done well.
Controversy?
No.
Why?
Who is he appealing to more than anybody? The white males in this country. And why is he appealing to them? Not because of lack of jobs. Whatever he says, The unemployment rate is 5%. It's really low. What he's appealing to them is the fear that in 20 years, this country will be a non-white majority country. And that's what's triggering everything. That on the heels of having a black president for 7 years, it's all racism. And now to really continue the racism, you have to have a scapegoat. And who is the scapegoat? The Hispanics, particularly the undocumented Hispanic. Doesn't that seem something that we learned in history? Hitler had to have a scapegoat. All these friggin' fascists have to have a scapegoat. And that's what I'm doing here, calling it the no-Trump undercard, because I had the undercard. I had these young, great Hispanic fighters, and I figured I'd make a political statement, and I want to alert the Hispanic community that this is not a joke. You got to take this seriously. And how do you take it seriously? You have to organize at the ballot boxes, right? And you have to organize yourself so that, God forbid, he does get elected president, he cannot do what he says he's going to do, which is to remove and deport 11.5 million people out of this country. Knock on the door, break up families.
Well, and what he said about women and abortions and being punished.
He's a
pig.
He's a bad person. He has no business running for president. He doesn't have the background. He doesn't have the temperament.
That's what I noticed. I don't even think he was ever like a mayor, let alone
he's never been
senator.
Anything.
So how can he run for president?
Because he's in love with himself. He has an ego that when he says something, it's got to be so, and nobody else is right.
Well, what I've seen lately is now he's been having his wife up there. She's this beautiful model, and now she's up there talking, and so now he's trying to play the woman card with his wife.
Yeah, but that's not going to help with the woman card. Because let me tell you something. The people have to listen to him. His latest thing, how he's going to build a wall. He's going to have Mexico pay for the wall, and if they don't pay for the wall, listen to this. He's not going to let Mexican-Americans, citizens from the United States send money into Mexico to help their families. I mean, you talk about un-American, you talk about as something that really infringes on our values. It's scary, even to think something like that.
So who do you like that's running?
Hillary.
Me too, yes. But let me ask you this. So we just had a black president for 7 years, 8 years. Are we ready for a woman? Because it was a big deal that Barack won.
Let me tell you, I wanted to start that with Arthur Abraham because he came from Germany. He's from Germany, even though he's Armenian, Germany. Because who was the head in Germany?
A woman.
Probably the best, they call him a chancellor, the best head of state anybody has, Angela Merkel. Hillary Clinton, believe me, is the best equipped of any of these bozos to be president.
I believe that too. I just hope that America's ready for that because they think women that we're all emotional. They think we're all sensitive.
The thing that I'm really surprised about and disappointed are young women who are flocking to Bernie Sanders and not realizing what's involved in this election. Because, hey, if you want somebody to make promises, I'll out-promise Sanders anytime. I'll make free food in college. You go to college, you'll have free food also, right?
Do you think that the Bernie Sanders popularity kind of plays into the narrative that we have this collective of society, particularly millennials that are mediocre people? Because if you're giving them everything for free, it gives them nothing to work for.
I think
does it play into this whole
I think that's part of it, and another part of it is that they graduate from, they're pretty well college educated. They graduate from college, and they're in debt because most of them have taken out student loans, and they get out and they can't find the jobs that will give them sufficient revenue to pay off the student loans. So there's terrible, terrible resentment. But the answer is not to have free college education, free this, free that. How are you going to pay for it? You've got to make priorities in life. There are certain things that can be free. There's certain things that can be cost effective. You could rework the loans. You can do a lot of things, but you got to live within your resources. And that's why I hope the people of Pennsylvania, right, when the Democrats go to primary, go for Hillary.
I hope so too. I got some cool Hillary shirts. But let's switch gears. We have to talk a little bit of boxing while we have you on. And I wanted to actually ask you, how did you end up hiring a VP in Carl Moretti, who is such a devoted Dallas Cowboys fan, and you're a diehard New York Giants fan?
Because I know that the Giants are a better team, and I delight when the Giants beat the Cowboys, and he's crying in his beer. But listen. We have a connection in Top Rank with Dallas Cowboys. I'm a crazy Giant fan. You know, I've had season tickets to the Giants since 1957 when they played in Yankee Stadium. So I'm a big Giant fan.
Yeah.
But one of my best friends is Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, who will be at the fight on Saturday with his wife. Yeah. So I remember when I took Carl for the first time in the Cowboy, it was called Cowboy Stadium, when we were doing one of the Pacquiao fights. So on the 50-yard line, there's a big Cowboy star at the Cowboy Stadium. This guy gets down, he's so crazy, Moretti, gets down on his knees to kiss the star. And he's still here.
You think we'll ever see another Muhammad Ali?
There'll never be another Muhammad Ali. There'll be other people. There'll be other interesting people. There'll be other people who are dedicated. There's a kid on this undercard, Jose Ramirez, who's really the story of America. His family, his father and mother came here, farm workers. His father's still a farm worker. The kid picked peppers in the field when he was 13 years old. He fell in love with boxing. He was a member of the U.S. Olympic team. He went to college and so forth, and he's become a spokesperson for the Latino Water Coalition and for the immigration group. Now, the Latino Water Coalition is very important because the lifeblood of the agricultural interest in Central California, which accounts for 56% of the agricultural produce in the United States, is water. Without water, you're finished. Right. And the environmentalists have blocked a lot of the water by having the water go from the rivers out to sea, because they say it will prevent the delta smelt from extinction. Now, in the last 25 years, maybe they've seen 3 delta smelts. It's as bad as that. Who knows if they even exist anymore? Right. Meanwhile, thousands of gallons are going out to sea that could be used to irrigate farmland. So that's one of the groups that he's a spokesperson for, and we had the guy who's the head of it talk today, because I believe in it also. I've become so educated, they made me Farmer of the Year. a Jewish guy from Brooklyn, the Farmer of the Year. Yeah.
One of the other fighters, he does a lot of work in the Central Valley with Fight for Water and new cars up there working with them. I think
No, Ramirez does. I don't know. Jose Ramirez.
Crawford also does missions. He goes to Africa every summer with Pipeline.
That's what I love about boxing, and those are the kids that I concentrate on. I don't want anything to do with the Broners of the world. That's not for me.
I want you to be brutally honest. What would Terrence Crawford do to Adrian Broner if they fought?
Well, Terrence Crawford is one of the future big stars in boxing. But the thing I didn't know, because he's quiet about it, is every summer for the last 3 years, his school teacher takes a group that includes him to Africa and they do charitable work in Africa. And he never said boo about it.
Right.
I mean, he's a really wonderful kid.
Yeah, the organization is called Pipeline. And so he goes to Africa with this mission,
Right.
and they dig for water, and they build wells for the
exactly.
community there.
Yeah, wonderful. He never
You
said a word
need to
about
get the
it.
HBO cameras to go with him next
Well,
time.
they will, but we just found out about it.
Oh, I've been knowing that.
You know, yeah. I
So,
didn't know that.
All right, well, we saw this week that Crawford Postel, it's getting close. So how close are we? Give us a percentage.
I think we're very close. Postel's manager is now in Russia or someplace like that. So we're trying to get a hold of him. He has the contract. I think Crawford's pretty well agreed. So I think that fight's going to happen on July 23rd right here back in Vegas.
I was in New York for Crawford Lundy, and I could not believe how many Omaha people flew to New York. I wasn't expecting that, and I thought this is going to prove how big or not he really is if his home would follow him.
They'll follow. You'll see.
Yeah.
There'll be thousands of people from Omaha coming to Vegas.
Yeah, this is a much easier trip for them
and
too.
It's cheaper. And there's more hotel rooms and everything. So you'll see a lot of them. A lot of them coming. And you know who his biggest fan is?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
He buys his own
I got
tickets.
such a kick out of seeing Warren Buffett. He sits in the stands like a regular guy with a Terrence Crawford T-shirt, the richest guy in America.
And you know what? He won't take anything for free. He buys his own tickets.
No,
he buys his own shirt. He won't take it for free.
Absolutely.
That's so
and now he's become really friendly with Terrence, and he's giving him investment advice.
That's priceless. That's priceless. Not to be Debbie Downer, but I have to ask you about Mikey Garcia. He's still proclaiming out there all over the internet the past few days that he was never offered the Crawford fight, that you haven't offered him a fight. What's his deal? Can we just
Garcia, first of all, other guys made runs at him, other promoters. I don't want to get in.
Other promoters or other managers?
Well, the manager promoters, made runs at him, and that screwed him up. And we didn't offer him a Crawford fight because he wanted more money than Crawford. I mean, and Crawford was the champion, and Crawford means something. So we've given Mikey his release now. So he's free to do whatever he wants.
When was that? Today?
Today.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you just scoop it?
Yeah.
We just got the word on the curve. Wow. Well, you know what? Good, because I felt that he was becoming the most irrelevant fighter.
Right.
And it was just, all these videos and interviews with him, and he hasn't fought in 2 years. And, you got these kids that are making astronomical money for fighting cupcakes on TV. And it gets into the heads of these other kids.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Because that's going to run out.
It is running out.
Yeah.
It is running out.
Yeah.
So, slow and steady wins the game.
Well, the last thing I want to ask you is, so I was a huge Felix Trinidad fan. I used to cry when he fought. I used to pass out if he lost. I mean, seriously. And so when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, I want you to be brutally honest. Why was there never a rematch?
Because Felix had really worked hard to get down to 160. I think it was 160, yeah. No, 147. I'm sorry, 147. Yeah, and he couldn't. He wanted to fight at between 147 and 154 because he couldn't make 147 anymore. And that's dangerous when they dehydrate themselves too much. So it was a problem that King and I had with the weight. King represented Trinidad, I represented De La Hoya, and we couldn't. The De La Hoya people, Oscar had no problem making 147. Oscar's father didn't want him to fight at a higher weight.
I have one final question too. Before we wrap it up, you managed to have longevity in the business, celebrating your 50th year in boxing, because we know you started when you were 3. We've seen a number of promoters come and go over the last couple of years, and it looks like of the new promotional outfits that's managed to, keep a little bit of leg is Rock Nation Sports. How would you grade them in their first year of operation?
Not good, because I think that they have, until they can turn a profit in boxing promotion, I don't consider them real promoters. And they spent, James Prince wanted us to promote Andre Ward, but the terms were so onerous, as far as I was concerned, that I couldn't see how I could ever make any money doing that. So I turned it down because Prince is a good guy, and I've worked with him. I'd worked with him with Mayweather. So I had no problem, making a deal with him. He's a good man. But I'm not going to go into a deal where it's only going to cost me money. Rock Nation went into that deal. That's okay. But they're not going to make any money. They're not going to make any money on the Cotto situation. They're paying him way too much. Good for Cotto. No problem. He's not stealing from anybody. But unless and until they get their act together and they're going to look to make money, you're not real promoters. Because if you go in and you do it, anybody, you can. If you had a check big enough, you can be a big promoter and put on fight, as long as you're willing to lose money.
We're going to let you go, but tell me real quick, which fight on the undercard is going to steal the show?
The Alberto Ramirez and Arthur Abraham is going to be one hell of a fight.
And we see Jesse Hart's here. He's going to be paying close attention to that fight.
Yeah, Jesse wants to fight the winner. Yeah, I love Jesse. But the guy, one thing Jesse is blessed with, he has a father who knows boxing and doesn't want me to rush the kid.
Yeah.
Cyclone's a hell of a guy. Hey,
look, we spoke him up. We spoke him up. We were just talking about you, Jesse. All right, see you. All right, Bob, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anytime. Yeah, you guys really know your stuff.
Oh, yeah. Women, we rock. Go Hillary.
Good.
Go
okay.
me. Go you. All right, Bob, thank you. Derek, thank you so much.